And call to order the March 7th meeting of the Finance Committee. Joel's here. All right. Currently absent, Corey Orgeron is not feeling well. Travis is absent. Oh, he is here. Okay. Michael Mason and Dempsey Lambert are not here. So Corey, Michael, and Dempsey are absent. All right, I have no chairs additions tonight. For public comment period, if anybody wishes to speak on an agenda item, fill out a red or green card and hand it to Ashley. And we'll go ahead and do the invocation and the pledge. Coach?
Let's bow our heads, please. Gracious God, as we come once again at this hour in the evening, we come to say thank you for the many blessings you bestowed upon each of us. We pray, Lord, that you bless the meeting, bless all that's here in attendance. And Lord God, we thank you for allowing us to be here. And Lord, as we come today, we come, Lord, to do parish business, decent and in order. I pray, Lord, as we leave here tonight, that you allow each of us to get home safe and sound to our families. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item on the agenda tonight, 5A, Ascension Economic Development Quarterly Briefing. Kate, welcome.
I think this is on. Yes, okay. Yep. All right, so we're just going to get into it. This is our first quarter briefing. So through the first 2 months of the year, we have had a number of announcements already. So Rubicon and Huntsman is finishing up an expansion project. It's anticipated to be complete in June. So that one is finalized. And then we have the 1-4 group, which is the potato preservative manufacturer in Geismar. And they have announced this year for their $39 million project. And then we have Origin Materials, which is our latest announcement. So that's the biomass company that would be creating a substitute for PET, which is exciting, and that one's also in Geismar. So far in 2022, we have just over $1 billion of new capital investment and just over 230 new full-time jobs that are announced. And then we have 32 projects on our project chart still. So we have 8A projects, which are the ones making a decision within the next 12 months. That represents just over $4 billion of new investment and over 400 new permanent jobs. We feel pretty confident that a lot of those are going to be yeses this year. So we're looking forward to adding to our total already. And then we are actively working to get some of those B projects into A projects and pushing those along. So we've been very busy. If you can see on this slide, we have had 12 new leads already this year. So the leads that come in, it's usually from Louisiana Economic Development, utility partners, consultants, or BRAC, and then a lot of them are also directly to our office. These leads require a lot of information, so they're looking for sites and specific data. And then once we give them all that information, if they come back to us and ask more specific information, or if they set up a time to come visit, then we'll add them to our project chart. So far we've only converted 2 of them to our project chart, but we have been in talks with a number of them, so we think there will be more. There are some that we can't submit on because the requirements are things that we may not necessarily have, and then we can't submit because they won't pick us. So we have had a number of visits this year as well. So we've had about 7 different projects come see us this year. They are looking at a variety of different sites, a lot of them on the West Bank, and then a lot in Geismar, and one additional one in Gonzales. So this is a good sign. We've kind of been busy ever since last March. It's just been pretty crazy with people coming here and visiting, which is a good thing. In the meantime, part of our strategic plan is working on site development, so we are actively looking for additional sites for projects. The Riverplex Mega Park of Louisiana is our longtime goal that we have been working towards, and the next step is looking at putting in an economic development district to fund public infrastructure projects. We did enter into a CEA with the Parish. We came to the council in December to talk about that CEA, and we did put in an advertisement for the district in the Gonzales Weekly Citizen, and we're hoping to come back in April for the beginning of an ordinance to create this economic development district. And we do have a lot of information that we'll be sharing with you, and essentially it doesn't change anything about what's going on. It would mimic the overlay we already have for the Riverplex Mega Park. It's just a tool that in the future, as we have projects that are looking, we can create sub-districts where we can capture some of the funding from ad valorem and sales taxes to use for infrastructure projects. So it's just a vehicle that when we get to the point where we can use it, we'd have another possible funding source. And then we continue to do site certification, which is an excellent tool for property owners because you get a tremendous amount of engineering work done for 8% of the total cost. We did finish Germania Plantation. We're just waiting for the last documents. And then we have Mulberry Grove, which is in the Riverplex Mega Park, pending their application right now. And then we also have 2 sites by the La Lumina facility that are also pending with the state to participate in that program. Then we are continuing with marketing. We are still working on our video series, so we have just about finalized our script for our next video, which is on environment and safety, and we are looking to film in April. So considering it's about the environment, we don't want everything to look like in the dead of winter. So we picked the middle of April to work on the filming for that video and hopefully have it complete in May. And then we'll start on the industry and schools video in the fall, which is good because we won't have masks in the video when we're filming in the schools. So we're pretty excited about finishing that video series this year. We're also participating with Gabria on the Industry Makes campaign. So they're going to be working on a statewide video series as well that focuses on the importance of industry and the goods that they make and the jobs that they bring to the state. So we can customize that locally as well. We have contracted with a firm called Research FDI. They do international lead generation. They are going to set up 10 to 12 pre-qualified meetings for us in the targeted industries that we specified, which for this contract is renewables, electric vehicle manufacturing, hydrogen technologies. It's a whole list of different emerging market trends that we wanted to get into, and we wanted to make sure that they're pre-qualifying companies that are looking for a location in the Gulf Coast, and then specifically if they're interested in Louisiana. So then they set up face-to-face meetings for us, and then hopefully we get them to come here and visit. So we also got a new software this year called Placer AI, and we'll be using that for marketing purposes. It's kind of a demographic software on steroids, so it follows traffic patterns and commuting to a scary degree of public information. So we can track workplace data, we can track traffic, we can track spending, events, and kind of see where the flow of money really is going around the community. And then we are also sponsoring a job and training fair in April at Lowry Middle School. We are hoping to get it done in a couple weeks, but there has been a lot of conflicts with different employers and other job fairs, so we thought it would be better and more efficient if we move it back a month. And then just our regular closing slide to talk about the latest and greatest return on investment numbers to date. And is there any questions for anything through the first quarter this year?
Anybody have any questions? Coach?
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to comment on the job fair that's been trying to put on in West Ascension, so to speak, for the last maybe a year and a half. And because of COVID, we've been pushed behind, but it seems as though now things seems like it's going to work out, even though we still get a little pushback from March 16th, which is okay. Moving forward, looking forward to having it, and the community is looking forward to having it also. We just like to thank you all and appreciate the hard work that you put in, Kate, and along with the other entities. So thank you all, and we appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, Kate, thanks for the update. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
Thank you as always.
All right, item 5B, amendment number 1 to contract for professional services for waterway debris removal with DRC Emergency Services to amend and not to exceed amount of the contract from $7 million to $15,500,000. This includes East Baton Rouge's portion of the work to be completed that the parish will bill for. Mr. Bauer.
Council, appreciate it. I'm here today to discuss just what was referenced there and give you all an update on the debris removal operations. So I'll run through my slides briefly here. So what you'll see here is a update on total waterway debris progress to date. Total cubic yards you will see there removed is 115,000 plus cubic yards, which includes 36.7 miles of waterway cleared to date. What you'll see is right now the contractor is in Bayou Manshack. Both Ascension and EBR sides of Bayou Manshack are being cleaned. Bayou Conway, Panama Canal, the Bayou Conway Spur, Welsh Gully, and Muddy Creek. Those have all been tasked to the contractor, and he's in various stages of recovery in those channels, which we'll get into in a little bit. Actively right now, he is in the 3 you see here, Bayou Manshack, Bayou Conway, and Panama Canal. That is a total of 5 crews working, 2 in Manshack, 2 in Conway, 1 in Panama, averaging roughly 1,500 cubic yards removed daily. This is an overview slide of where he has been and where he is currently. In orange, you will see this is where he is working, and green is defined as cleared. So just to be clear on that, as he works in a section and he believes that he is complete in that section, there's a final review process involved before it is considered officially cleared, and he can move on from that section. So you are looking at all the waterways I mentioned to you above. You'll see significant progress in most of these channels here. Moving on individually to the Bayou Manshack and Muddy Creek waterways. Again, this is Ascension side only. You'll see a majority of Bayou Manshack is green at this point. He's made significant progress in Bayou Manshack, and you'll see Muddy Creek. He is moving off into sections of Muddy Creek. On the far western end of Bayou Manshack, the issue was just water levels and getting under a few select bridges, but that will be done as access allows. Some pictures to run through with you all. These are now, if you remember the first time I had this presentation, it was really pre-removal pictures. Now it will be post, so you can kind of see that after product. So again, you're looking at fairly cleared waterways at this point compared to what they were after the storm. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. On the EBR side, again, you'll see here the contractor is currently working significant portions of Bayou Manshack. He'll continue to do that with the same issues I described on the Ascension side, just the water levels, those kind of things hindering him on the far west side. But as that progresses, he will continue to move that forward. And again, some pictures from the EBR efforts. Now these pictures, unlike the previous, you will see some in-action photos because that is ongoing as we speak. All right. Moving on to Bayou Conway, and more specifically, you'll see it here. Again, the progress in Bayou Conway has been very significant. You'll see they're waiting on one stretch, kind of down there between the railroad and I believe that's, Airline Highway there. That again, they're working on access for, but other than that, they've done significant progress in Bayou Conway and continuing forward on that. And again, some pictures to show you. Again, these are after pictures, so you can see the progress that has been made. The Conway Spur, again, they're working through that. That was a particularly hard-hit area, and you will see a mixture of before and after pictures there. action shots there by the contractor. All right, and moving into Panama Canal, again, they've cleared significant portions really east of Highway 44, and then moving into the western section of Highway 44 towards the airport. And some images there for you. All right, so that takes care of the waterways that have been addressed to date. Moving into really what it looks like, just to give you a frame of reference, at Lamar-Dixon, this is that debris pile we keep showing you all. You can see the magnitude and the size of trees in that debris pile, right? I mean, it's fairly significant. You can see it there. Again, think about the level of trees that were in your waterways based off these debris piles here. And just a good frame of reference for you, if you recall, when we first started this process, we had some aerial imagery on some of these waterways. This is a good example of that location pre and post removal. So this is the kind of thing that we'll be able to see and really focus on. That tree from point A to point B has been removed, and that is a good frame of reference for us to focus on going forward, really show some progress there. And with that, kind of wrapping this up, where we're heading next, debris removal contractor is continuing in the areas that I mentioned. Task orders 3 and 5 nearing completion. Those are Panama Canal and Conway Spur. And then task orders 1, 2, 6, 7, and 8 still ongoing. That being Bayou Manshack on the Ascension and East Baton Rouge side, Bayou Conway, Welsh Gully, and Muddy Creek. So that concludes my presentation on progress. So what I'm here today to discuss is our request is the amendment to the contract for DRC to the $15.5 million as requested, or as noted. So if there are any questions, I'll be glad to take them. Otherwise, I would open the field for you all.
You want to go to the question? Joe Robert?
So we're changing this contract from about $7.5 million to $15 million. And you're saying that that includes the portion that's going to be done in East Baton Rouge and then afterward billed to East Baton Rouge. The $7.5 million beforehand, did that include that number also?
So the East Baton Rouge portion will be included in the 15.5. It did not originally, it was not originally included in the 7.5. The East Baton Rouge portion has developed since then.
How much of the $15 million is the East Baton Rouge portion?
It's expected around 1.2 to 1.5.
Okay, so it's not that significant.
It's a small portion of it.
Okay.
The way the East Baton Rouge portion will be handled is it will be billed through the parish, and the parish will be directly paid back by East Baton Rouge for that funding.
Thank you.
Chase Melissa?
And just so the public knows, this is a 90-10. We're anticipating getting 90% of this 15.5 back. Roughly 1.6 million out of our general fund when it's all said and done. Although it does take 9 to 12 months for us to receive these funds back from FEMA. I do have a question to piggyback, Mr. Robert. The portion that we will pay for EBR, we're not just getting 90% of that 1.2 back. From either FEMA or EBR, we will be reimbursed 100% of their portion, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Cagnolati?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jared, thank you for the report. Chase kind of asked my question, but I saw a lot of the slides said Hurricane Ida project, debris removal project. With that in mind, you have any idea how much of this will be reimbursable? I mean, I know we're spending a lot of money, but we hope to get reimbursed from FEMA or whoever.
Yes, absolutely. That would be our goal as well. The best way to answer that is the 90-10 cost share. That still applies, and that is what we are approaching FEMA for. That will be the intent.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
All right, no more questions.
Motion approved.
A motion by Councilman Melissa and a second by Councilwoman Casso. Any objections?
I got a question. Maybe something I may have missed, but is any of this, the money that's being spent, is any of this have any concept of on the west bank of the river? Any of this being spent
President,
on West Ascension, or we not doing anything over there?
Is this on? Yep, okay. So what we're gonna do is, what you see from the names that given on that list, there was so much debris from Ida that we're not even getting into our tier 2, tier 3 channels, including the West Bank. So we will have to shift to our crews at some point, because we will have to have a certain amount of money in a general fund in order to not interrupt services or take from other programs, because this is a reimbursement program, meaning that we have to fund the money up front. So with that being said, we'll have to transition after this 15.5 to our own personal crews, set it up very similar to the current crews with a monitor so we can have our crews reimbursed. And so at that time, we'll do a CEA with the West Bank, and we'll have to use drainage resources to go and finish cleaning those channels and alternate in between. So it's very important to understand that 15.5 does not clear all of our channels, east and west side. We will have to shift to our crews and do it in the manner in which we can try to get reimbursed from FEMA. It's very important to note that.
So in none of the money that's gonna be spent, it's gonna be spent on the West Bank. Is that what you're saying?
We've already pulled some trees, and we have done some West Bank maintenance. So we'll shift our crews over there to finish cleaning up. But the West Bank is in much better shape than on the east side on certain channels. But we will do a CEA with West Bank drainage until we can use our East Bank crews to go over there, and then same process, have a monitor, have a chip and site certified, use our dump trucks, our equipment, our crews, and then clean those channels to be reimbursed as much as we can possibly get through that reimbursement.
So that tells me we do have a plan to make sure things be done.
Absolutely,
According-
yes, the whole
across
parish
the
will be,
parish, yeah.
the whole parish is, the goal is to get back to baseline, which is 0, as before the storm, that every tree is removed that has fallen from Ida. That is the goal.
Thank you very much.
I have a question from Councilman Lawler.
Actually, the parish president brought up a really good point, that this is reimbursement money, more of just a thought process on this, and Patrick will probably understand what I'm saying here, is that this is why we keep money in our funds. This is why every year we make sure that we have extra money in every single fund, because if we didn't have that money, we'd be having to borrow money and pay interest on something that we have to get done. But the only way we get it is if we spend that money. It becomes reimbursable. So this is where, over the past, 8 or 10 years, we've really done a good job of making sure that every fund had extra money in it, so when an emergency comes, we've got that money. Because other parishes, after other storms, were in a situation where they didn't have any money, and they had to go out and borrow money and pay extreme interest rates on that, which really was not a service to their citizens. Just maybe it's a pat on our own backs, but we've been doing this the right way, putting the money away, saving it for times like this. That's it. Thank you.
President Quitmo.
Just to note, this does not include the $6 million we spent on roadside, which is already completed and already done. And we're in the process of paying those invoices to be reimbursed. So it's $6 million plus on roadside, plus Waterway now. You can do the math, over 20 million. That's where we're at. So we have to make sure we have, in case we have another event this year, that we have that padding to do, and have to prepare for a possible event. Hopefully, cross our fingers, nothing happens, but nonetheless, we have to prepare for that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I got a motion. I got a second. No objections. With that, passes on to the full council for approval. Item 5C, amendment number 1 to contract for professional service for disaster debris monitoring and related services with Thomson Consulting Services, LLC, to amend the not-to-exceed amount of the contract from $10,000 to $550,000. Mr. Bauer, again.
Yes, thank you.
I missed a second. Got a motion by Councilman Lambert, second by Councilman Robert.
I would like a brief
Yeah.
overview from Mr. Bauer.
Go ahead and give an overview of this one. Yeah.
So this is an administrative need. So Thomson Consulting is your debris monitoring firm. The same operation as in the roadside debris, DRC picks it up. Thomson Consulting is the monitoring firm that is monitoring out there every day with them, doing debris load tickets, et cetera. It's a necessary part of the FEMA recovery process, the reimbursement process, and this is just administratively increasing the cap to cover the fees that they're expending as part of the waterway debris removal project.
And this is a not to exceed. This isn't, just a total amount not to exceed.
Yes.
550.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
This is also reimbursement.
It is, yes.
It is.
It falls into the same 90-10 category.
All right, no further questions, no objections. That item also passes to the full council for approval.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jared. Item 5D, discussion and approval of the contribution to the Donnisonville Shooting Stars Leadership Ascension Team for their project to renovate the Lehman Center in Donnisonville to a high-quality gymnasium facility for public use. And this is an item that came out of the Recreation Committee.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just to make sure, does everybody have a copy of the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Before I turn it over to Melissa to do the full presentation, we're here representing Leadership Ascension, and the name of our team is Deville Shooting Stars. And so I think it's very important for you guys and ladies to understand, why did we choose that area? Well, we all know Donisonville is an underserved area, and there's a lot of disenfranchised folks living over there. And it seems as though a lot of the funds always get funneled on this side. And so I think it would be very uplifting for that community if you guys would approve what we're about to propose. And with that, I'll turn it over to Melissa. And just, unfortunately, our whole team couldn't be here. I'm Wes Morrow. We have Melissa and Deborah over here from our team representing. So I'll turn it over to Melissa. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for allowing us to come today and present our project. My name's Melissa Pucho. I work at Grace A. Bear Curtis Architects, and we signed up to be part of the Leadership Ascension program so that we could have this part of community outreach. And our team was super excited to take part of this project. 2 of our members are from the West Bank of the parish. That's going to be Milton Cayette. He's with the Ascension Sheriff's Office, and Rhonda Turner. She actually works here at the Clerk of Court's office. And so immediately when we found out about the project, we wanted to do something on the West Bank. And Milton, being from there, suggested the Lehman Center. He said that a lot of the community uses that. They use it for all different events. They use it for basketball. They use it for different community events, for funerals, just anything, because they just don't have another good community center over there to utilize it. So we took a field trip and went to see the building, and we're really kind of shocked at the condition of it. The floors for the gymnasium are VCT flooring, and tiles are popping up. You can see in the pictures that we presented here. I mean, it's really a safety hazard for the children. It's just not good condition for playing, and VCT, as you know, isn't exactly the best for a basketball court either. And so we identified that as our first priority, just seeing the condition of the space, and we wanted to provide a new floor, paint the building, the gymnasium from floor to ceiling, hopefully get some new scoreboards, maybe some new basketball goals. Then we went into the bathrooms, and the bathrooms are really in disrepair. There's not enough toilet fixtures to meet code for the building. With the space, I'm not even sure we can fully meet code, but we can definitely improve them. Add new fixtures. There's some showers that really aren't being utilized that we can use that space to add new toilet fixtures. Some of the fixtures are broken off the wall. You can see the old plumbing stub outs in there, but the fixtures are just not in good condition. There's even like holes in the wall. There was a diaper stuffed behind the toilet in the hole. I mean, the condition's just not really acceptable for the only real community center in Donaldsonville. So we really wanted to tackle that as well if we're able to raise enough money. As you know, athletic floors are not cheap. So we did a lot of research. Having worked on Bluff Middle School myself, I reached out to multiple flooring contractors. One that we reached out to was the one that's doing the new gymnasium at Lamar Dixon. We investigated wood floor and fluid applied polyurethane flooring, and we settled on the fluid applied polyurethane flooring that's actually at Bluff Middle School. It's a Robbins Plastic Classic 90 floor. It's really good, has good ball bounce, and is going to serve the community very well. So with the connections that we have, we were able to get a quote for the floor of around $65,000. Now that's just the floor. We were also able to obtain a donation from Sherwin-Williams for 70 gallons of paint, and that will cover the entire gymnasium and the restroom area. So we're able to get that, and we're going to be able to utilize inmate labor to apply the paint, demo the existing VCT floors, and we'll be out there as well demoing, taking out the stage to create a new kiddie court so that when the older kids are playing basketball, the little kids have a place to play as well. So that's kind of our vision for the project. If we have enough funds, we also want to try to tackle the lobby. The lobby, all the finishes are deteriorating. The ceiling is in really poor condition. The millwork there really isn't functioning as they need it to, as a welcoming area where they could sell tickets for events or sell concessions. The kitchen to the side is not exactly in the most ideal place. You have to kind of cross through the game to get to it, so we'd love to relocate that to the lobby if we have the funding. But of course, with Leadership Ascension, we have limited time, and we have to raise all of these funds on our own. So our project has to be completed by the end of May, and so we're starting to line up what we feel financially that we can handle right now, but we're here to ask y'all for a contribution of $70,000 so that we'll be able to achieve our full goal. We have contributions so far guaranteed from Shell and CF Industries, and then numerous other smaller donations that we've already received. And we are working with the city of Donnisonville. They're going to contribute as well. So I guess that's it.
Mr. Chairman, that due to the situation, but first of all, I want to commend Leadership Ascension for the excellent job and for choosing Donnisonville in itself as it ever have it been in the shape that it's in, the help that we need in West Ascension, not just in this area. There's a lot of other areas that we need help in, and we appreciate Leadership Ascension for stepping in and offering that help along with Shell and anyone else that's willing to help us in that aspect. And in talking to the mayor and some of the city councilmen, they also appreciate the help that you all are doing also. So again,
Thank you so much.
At this time, I would like to make a motion that we give them $20,000 because of the funds that we already have in that we have given out, and we don't want to deplete the whole funding aspect. So I'd like to make that motion of giving them. Yeah.
70, let's do 70.
Allow me to ask for $25,000. I'll make that motion. I would offer that motion.
Hold on. You say?
I'd like to make the substitute motion to offer them the 70,000 that they're asking for.
Yes.
And just for clarification, so y'all thinking roughly 100,000 for the 4 bathrooms, 65,000 on the new floor?
Yes, the floor alone is $65,000.
Okay.
However, when we have to add in additional, like, we got the paint materials donated, but we still have to get, any protection for the floor, paint brushes, all that equipment. And then when we take the stage out, the doors on either side are raised up to the height of the stage. So we're going to have to infill those portions of wall. So you have new studs, gypsum board, finishing that out. There's additional cost that comes to it. So we have around $100,000 factored in for just the flooring and gymnasium portion, because also with this project, we have to have a grand opening. There's other smaller costs that we have to float into it as well. And then for the restrooms, we estimated those at $25,000 a piece, because we're going to have to bring in new plumbing and new finishes throughout. And it's an existing building, so there's going to be unknowns. So that's about $100,000 for the restroom portion.
But yeah, I support the 70,000. We'll find it somewhere. I know Mr. Goldsmith and Diaz are where we gonna get it from, Chase? But look, I'm gonna make the motion for 70, and whenever it comes time, if y'all are still a little short, please come back to us.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes.
Yep. Mr. Chairman, could I just add something?
Yeah,
I
I was gonna
want to make sure the committee understands that we budget about $100,000 a year for these type of items. We've already appropriated 42, so we've got 58 left. So anything above that, and that's for the rest of the year. So that would be for any other items that come from now to the end of the year, and we're only in March. So it would require a budget amendment to do anything above that 58.
Councilman Lawson.
I'd like to make the motion to amend the budget to allocate 70,000 for this project and add it from the general fund into this account.
And if we did that, we would put, I guess, the amendment in the next meeting.
Right.
Takes 45 days, just so everybody understands.
We
once
couldn't
we start.
technically pass it tonight because we'd have to do a budget amendment.
58,000 tonight, maybe come back for it?
Mr. Goldsmith, so the question would be, and to you guys, how soon do you need the funds? Would you rather us give you the 58 and then come back for the rest? Do you need the funds to start in the next 45 days?
We don't have to pay the flooring right away, but when the materials come in, we will receive an invoice. And in order to get other activities rolling, we're going to need some funding up front. Maybe if we did half now and then half, or do the 58 now and then.
So thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
So I would entertain a motion. Do we want to amend the original motion to?
I'll make an amended motion to adjust it from the 70,000 to allocate the 58,000 and do the 58,000 now. If y'all can come back later, we'll handle the rest then.
Okay.
Is that good, Mr. Goldsmith?
That procedurally works.
Okay. I will second Mr. Robert's motion.
Second. I'm going to catch a question from Councilman Lawler. You've been waiting. I'm going to come back to you.
Yeah, please do.
My only concern is, we have never given this much in the past, and we don't have that kind of money in the budget. And we're also not looking at doing this as matching funds. What we've done many times in the past, we said we will donate X amount of dollars as matching funds to encourage y'all to go out and get more donations, not just making this a parish project where we just go and pay for it. We have a recreation department for that. In fact, our recreation department is in dire need of money. We have projects right now that are parish projects that are on hold because we don't have the money for them. This is, we're just throwing money at something. I think it would be more prudent to say that we will, offer $35,000 of matching funds, requiring them to raise $35,000, and at that point, they would get, for every dollar they raise, they'd get $1 from us. They would reach that 70,000. That would also preserve our ability that when other organizations come to us throughout the rest of the year, and like they said, we're only in March right now, that we can look at their needs also. We may have things that come up all over the parish that we're really going to have to look at. And are we going to have to tell every other group that comes to us, no, we spent it all, in fact, we had to go get more? I don't think that's a really good way to do this. What did we donate last year? I think it was 35,000? 35. 35.
That wasn't the original donation.
No, what was it?
The original was 50. They came back for another 35, and y'all told them we'd give them 35 and another 35 as long as they matched the second 35.
So how much did we give total last year?
We gave total last year 70.
70. Okay. See, I thought we had asked that last meeting. We probably just didn't get the answer as what it was. So, I just don't know if we want to eliminate our budget 100% right now and actually turn this into something where we could use this as matching funds regardless of what we do. I think we should make sure that it's a matching fund situation, that we donate, that way it encourages them to go out there and get the matching funds.
If you don't mind, we do currently have approximately $45,000 raised so far, and that is not including any donations from the city themselves.
How
And
much
we're
are they
still-
giving? How much are they giving?
We don't have an exact amount yet. They've talked about, some people have, they've mentioned various amounts, but 50,000 was thrown out there, and some have mentioned more. And we're still exploring additional fundraising and contacts. And that is, the 45,000 is not including donated services for architectural, the mechanical engineer. We're going to have a kitchen consultant look at the kitchen area, but we're not going to touch it. We're just going to give the city the means for them to continue, and also material donations. So the actual value is more than that 45 in cash.
Okay. I don't know where we stand on amendments and substitution motions right now. Do we?
I think we're way past
I
where we
think,
should be.
yeah, I think currently,
I was trying to figure that
I
out.
think currently we've made a motion for the 58 with a second for the 58.
I think so.
Okay.
And we appreciate that, but just to circle back to you, Mr. Laura, just so you understand, our whole team, we're doing individual fundraising to support this. We're not here today to ask you guys to fund the entire project. We've been busting our humps out there on the streets, raising money.
I understand
So I
completely.
just want to make sure we're clear. I like your strategy.
And I think it
but-
could help y'all with your fundraising if you can tell people that whatever you donate is going to be matched. That's why I think matching funds are really helpful, because I know when we've done that before, it makes people realize, hey, so if I give that $100, you mean it's actually 200? Yes. So that's why I'd really like to see this as a matching fund situation, because it helps them with their fundraising also.
Better watch out, we might get out of control on you.
Get out of control and raise as much as you can. We can, do a lot over there.
And
So
just
I
out
don't
of-
think I
just
can
out
make a
of-
motion. I can't alter it, but I would like to really see this as a matching fund situation. I think would help them with fundraising.
And just out of curiosity, just so I'm clear, if we're going to go with the matching fund option, let's say we raise 200,000, you all are prepared to match 200,000, or are you
we
going
would
to
do
cap
it
it?
up to, it would be capped. Basically, what I'd like to see is an offer of 50,000 as long as it's matching funds.
Gotcha.
That's what I'd like to see. So
Thank you for the clarification.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to object to it and vote against it, only because I'd like to see us change this to a matching fund situation. Nothing against your project. I just think matching funds would help you on the long run.
I understand.
Long run.
Hold on. Got Councilman Cagnolati with a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Councilman Lawler. We've, this contribution donation fund, it's 100,000 a year, and, here we are in March, and most of it, I see 75% of it roughly is gone, or half of it. And we're trying to find ways that we can continue to help the community, because what these people do at Leadership Ascension are quality of life improvement projects, without a doubt. They bring great projects to us. But my question is, I guess, directed at administration, John and Patrick. What about the ARP money? What about this? I know we hope we have a special projects fund, and that money got put in there from what we got last year, and I think we got another payment coming, what's that, April, May time frame, John? It'll be another 12.5 million?
Yeah, we received a total of 24 allocated to the parish. We got the first 12. Once we allocate that 12, after a year, we're eligible to get the other 12 million. There are some eligible recreation type projects. They're typically green space, outdoor spaces, trying to get people away from each other. We would have to look to see if something like this would qualify as opposed to, bringing more people into one facility. But it's a possibility, and we can look into that.
That's it. All right, Councilman Turner.
I guess it's a question for my administration. 2020, what did we give to Leadership Ascension in 2020?
Total of 120.
And we gave 70 in 2021. And I just don't understand why tonight, all of a sudden, we need matching funds. I don't think those other projects with matching funds.
The way we did it last year was they came in and asked for 50,000. We gave them 50,000. Then they came back and they wanted another 70. Well, we were kind of concerned that we were funding most of the projects. So we gave them 35 more and told them if they raised the additional 35, we would match that. And so that's how they got 120 last year for this project.
But we did give them 50 without being concerned about the matching funds, correct?
Correct.
And the year before that, how much
And
was it?
historically, I think we've always given 50,000.
Yes, I don't see why this year we would just change the rules at the last minute. I would think that, to be fair and to not, just to be blunt, to seem like we're going to treat the West Bank different from the East Bank, that the initial donation should be at least 50,000 without matching funds. Because other than that, you can say what you want. You run the risk of showing favoritism to the East versus the West, or projects on the East side are more important than the West side. So, I would have to disagree with Mr. Lawler on this one. but that's my opinion. We should at least start off at 50.
Appreciate that acknowledgement.
Councilman Thomas.
The way this took off, this was some very slick politic foolishness. And I really don't appreciate the way this took off, the way it acts. Before I came here, we had money in the budget with $58,000 that was supposed to be given, and we was gonna ask to give at least $20,000 from what I was told. And that's why I asked for $20,000, because this is what I was told that they was wanting to give. And here I come back, I get my colleagues going to suggest $70,000. I want the best for Donisonville just as well as they do. Don't make it seem like I'm underbidding Donisonville. That's about the biggest lie you're gonna ever hear. And what happened just now, that is about as politic as it ever can get. By my colleagues, some of my colleagues, speaking in particular about putting $70,000, allowing me to say $25,000, which that was supposed to be the original that I asked for, and then you come in and overbidding me, making it seem as though I don't want to give Donisonville, and that's about the biggest lies you can ever see.
That piece of paper in front of you?
Hey, Chase, I didn't call the name. Did I call your name? Did I call your name? You guilty. That's why you're saying what you're saying. But let me say this.
Hey, point of
Allow
order,
me to say.
let's stop this back and forth.
No, allow
Go
me
ahead.
to say this. You're not gonna sit here and put what you all just did on me. That's not gonna happen to the people of Donisonville, to make it seem like I underbid. I want the best for Donisonville and the West Ascension. We need more than what we have, and we deserve more, and all this other stuff about I'm bidding $25,000, and one of the other councilmen come in and bid $70,000 from the East Bank, which it doesn't play into what I'm saying. It really was very disappointing.
Hold on.
Very disappointing.
Hey, Coach, can I say something? Because I'm the one that said the 20,000. I talked about it with Mr. Goldsmith. We talked about giving 10% of the total project. What I told you, Coach, was we should start at 20, and then if they needed help later on. I didn't realize the timeline when I said that. So you can put it on me if you want. I wasn't politicking.
Well, put it on somebody, not me. You don't
Well,
put
we
it
can
on
put
me.
it on whoever you
For the
want.
general
I'm just
public.
telling you, that was my explanation from Pat. We talked about it. Start at 20. If they come back with matching funds, we'll give more. I didn't know, I was never told about, I didn't think about last year, what we gave everybody else. We always have the opportunity to discuss this up here. That's what we're doing tonight. Nobody tried to underbid Donisonville or not give Donisonville what they
Well, you
wanted.
made it seem like I underbid. Then you come above and want to say 70,000.
I'm sorry if you feel that way. That was not.
I'm not talking to you, Chase Malonzo.
All right, guys.
You allowed, don't you talk, don't.
Point of order.
I'm not talking.
All right, come on, guys. Let's stop that.
Damn,
All right,
the full outrage, the grandstanding.
all right.
Jesus.
All right.
And what are you doing?
Point of order. Point of order. Let's go, guys.
Point of order, my butt. You
All
know,
right.
say nothing.
Councilman Robert.
So from what it sounds like to me is y'all would be capable of matching $54,000.
Our goal is to be able to, if you include the donated services, we for sure will meet
Sure,
it right now.
okay.
And
Well,
then-
including the donating services, I mean,
Yeah, and we don't have an exact value of what those are yet, I mean, because
Yeah.
it's all still happening.
so I'm good with keeping the motion at the $54,000, and they're saying they're gonna put up $54,000 too, so, that's pretty much our matching, so I'll just keep mine there.
It's 58, yeah.
58, I'm sorry,
Okay.
58,000.
And I still support my second of Mr. Robert.
Okay.
They're
So,
still putting up at least that much.
okay. Councilman Robert, you good?
I'm gonna keep my motion where it was. Yeah.
All right. I got a question from Councilman Lawler.
Yeah, first of all, I'm not trying to shortchange Donisonville in any way, so shape, or form by saying matching funds. I think it benefits y'all. When y'all go to a donor, whether it's a large corporation or an individual, to be able to say that whatever you donate is going to be doubled, it makes people more willing to do it. And really, quite honestly, I think every time we donate to Leadership Ascension, it's the same situation. Leadership Ascension is going out and trying to raise money, and by making it a matching fund situation, that helps you raise money. And that is my intent on saying, hey, let's make this matching funds. I know from doing fundraising for people before, that is always a selling point. If you can get people to think that they're giving twice as much as they're giving, it's really going to be good for them. That is why I believe asking that this be a matching fund situation. I'm fine with doing the full 58,000. I don't feel like getting, 8,000 isn't worth arguing over this for. But I think the matching fund situation assists them in raising that money. That's why I put it out there. And quite honestly, every single time Leadership Ascension comes, whether they're doing a project in Prairieville, Santa Maria, Dawsonville, Geismar, Darrow, wherever, we should always do it matching funds because it's a benefit to them. That is my point on that, and that's the only reason. Like I said, I'm going to vote against this so that we can put that into the next motion, because I don't think it was in the last motion, and there were too many amendments to amend again. So I'm going to vote against this so we can change it to a matching fund situation, because I really do think it benefits y'all in the long run.
All right. I don't have any more questions. I have a motion and a second. Do I have any objections?
I'm going to object, just as I stated why. I'm not against it.
The motion is, we have a motion by Joel to give 58,000. We have a second by Chase. We have an objection by Aaron, which means we're going to vote on it.
Well, we can't just give them a 7.
Because you can.
Okay, so we don't have it in the budget. We'd have to do a budget amendment.
But we'll
Okay.
come back for the next meeting when y'all do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you
we
very
know
much.
that you've had lots of support for us throughout the entire project, because we've had many conversations with Coach, and he's, been at multiple events that we've gone to and presented to support us, so
I
thank
just
you.
didn't want it to seem as though I'm undercutting Donnisonville.
No, we appreciate
with
everything
the
you've
motion
done.
that was made. That would never happen.
All right.
Can I ask one question?
One more question by Councilman
I don't
Waller.
have to just yet. Would y'all want this to be matching funds, or do you not want it to be matching funds? I mean, if you don't feel that that would help you raise money, we don't have to do that.
I tell you what, since we're kind of changing the rules of the game in the middle of the game, how about?
Well, there have never been rules to the game.
Right,
That's a
but
false
this is
statement
kind
to begin
of,
with.
this is kind of a first time.
And
so
we've done matching funds in the past.
how about we do the max, and then if we need more, like you did last year, we can come back and we'll agree to match funds. How about that?
That sounds good. All right, so the voting is open. Everybody needs to vote. Or maybe I need to vote. Can't vote. All right, y'all do it one more time. All right, motion passes. Passes to the full council for approval.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Do you mind me asking when that is, so we can, 58, when is the full council meeting, so we can be there?
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday night?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Item 5E, discussion of the CEA between Ascension Parish Government and Kevin Kelly and lease of Lehman Farm buildings to Ascension Parish Government by Kevin Kelly, and approval of sublease by Ascension Parish Government to Lehman Farm Supply for the use of the Lehman Farm buildings.
Motion to approve.
Well, this is actually an item for discussion.
Well, it also said approval. That's why I was confused. I was motioning to approve the sublease.
No, it's a discussion of, approval is in the sentence, but it's actually pertaining to the agreement between the two.
If you say.
Well, I mean, read it. It doesn't, it's not talking about approval of the item. The approval is talking about the item itself.
Oops.
Look at Jeff Torres now.
Yeah.
We can argue English
Mr.
later.
Bill, come on, somebody say something.
Yeah,
From here, if
Go
it's
ahead,
okay, Mr. Chairman.
Come on.
go for it.
So, I'm not sure what the question was, whether there was something for approval, but this is supposed to be a presentation only tonight, and then we'll bring everything back to the first meeting in April the 7th. We have talked to the chairman about possibly doing a special meeting, but I think we just could just go to the regular council meeting the same day. But anyway, that's something you guys can work out. But tonight, we're here to present what we call an investment in the future of Dawsonville. Looks like tonight is Dawsonville night, and I'll skip the rest of that. Okay, and I wanted to talk about the mission. So like in any investment that you have a mission, you have goals, and you talk about how you're going to meet those goals. The mission of our project here tonight is to improve the quality of life for the residents of the West Bank. I wanted to talk about that just for a second. And you think about quality of life, and I know everybody in here has their own definition of what quality of life is. We also know that other things in your family and other things in your situation affect what you call quality of life. So if I look at this, and I thought that probably one of the most important factors was what is the gross income in the family. So you can look and see what the median household income is in Ascension Parish. A lot of people also use that as a gauge for how well that the government performs, is to how well do they have jobs and good quality jobs for their residents. Here in Ascension Parish, we've been fortunate, but we've also had the government assistance that's gone with that, the government that's encouraged industrial development, the government that's encouraged investments within our parish, and we've benefited from that through growth. So our parish is one of the top producing parishes in the United States as far as income. Produces the average or median income is about $80,000 a year. There are two census blocks in North Ascension that are above 100,000. One of them is 107,000 and one of them is 103,000. So when you go to somebody that's in one of these census blocks that has a family income of 107,000 and you ask them, how am I going to improve your quality of life? Well, they might say, I want to spend less time in the car commuting to work. Maybe we need better road project. Or they might say, I want to watch the water drain faster out of my yard. So we improve drainage projects. But on the other hand, if you had somebody whose median family income was $25,000, they'd have a different answer to that. They would say, quality of life for me is being able to get to my job in the morning, because I don't have any sick benefits. I don't have any way to get paid if I don't go to work. Maybe quality of life for them is being able to put gas in their car. But the bottom line is that quality of life is something that you can improve by in a situation where you have $25,000 as the average income, is something that you can improve through training and through education. So really what we're focused on here, and by the way, I didn't just pick this $25,000 number, that is the median family income in the city of Dawsonville, $25,000, compared with $107,000 in one of the census blocks in North Ascension. So we have people there that are looking differently at what they think they need to improve the quality and what they really do need to improve the quality of their life. And what we've said is that what we want to do is we want to provide an opportunity for them to be a part of this 107 and not a part of the 25. And so we want to try to provide job training. We want to try to provide good nutrition and entrepreneurial opportunities for them. So tonight we're going to do, you're not going to get to hear me speak all the time. So John Diaz and I have been working on this project for several months, and John is going to, give kind of some more details on that.
So honestly, Bill, I think, so I think we have the votes for this, so I'm not going to speak long at all. But guys, the bottom line is he's right. I can show you an article in the Wall Street Journal which ranks the Prairieville census designated place as the wealthiest census designated place in the state of Louisiana. I can also show you an article in Wall Street Journal, in USA Today, that ranks Dawsonville as the second worst city in the country to live in. And so the bottom line is our entire vision is to make strategic investments, not just in human capital, which is the whole early childhood education concept, but in economic development. And this is where we really think that this is where we can move the needle. I know sometimes it's hard for people that's lived in this community to recognize that cities can be flipped. And I've seen it happen in Washington, D.C. When I was in Arizona, I saw it in Junction City. Donisonville has a lot of problems, but it has twice the promise, but it has history, it has character. And so this is just a great opportunity. And I'd hope everybody would listen with, open-minded approach to it. Because this is probably a once in a lifetime chance to secure these buildings, secure this buildings, and actually make a dent in the city of Donisonville and the quality of life.
Okay, and then we're going to talk about vision. So, when I see this vision, by the way, this is looking down Mississippi. So if you look to your left, that's the Vega department store, which later turned into the Lehman tractor store. So these three buildings on the left are buildings that are going to be involved in this project that we have. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at possibilities of what, how can we improve that quality of life? Nutrition. Not that I'm a big fan of Harvard, but there's a very good article in the Harvard Review, which says that your brain is like an engine, and what kind of fuel you put in there matters to how it performs. So you guys that are in my age group, not very many of them up there, you can remember the 327 Chevys and the 409 Chevys and the 350s, all of these, and what you put in there is what you got out. So the same thing is true for your brain. The nutrition that you put in there is what you get out. And it's a known fact that people in these depressed areas, low-income areas, they don't eat properly, and they're not exposed to healthy foods. So what are we trying to promote here is healthy eating, healthy cooking, and how to do that. It's not just give them this, but it's teach them how to do that. And then have a wellness center. That's another goal that we have. Training and entrepreneurship. We would like to see possibly this Vega building on your left. You see that as a part of a vocational training that focuses on music and food and arts. The building to the right of this Vega building was a theater in the early 1900s, not a theater like we have in Gonzales, a theater that was only live performances. And so we look at this and say, is it possible that we can resurrect that building and come back and still have performing arts and do music and that type of thing? So what we've found in our research is that not only do you have to offer these programs that are training programs for people to get the quality jobs, but there has to be an interest in the vocational technical training that you're offering. So I think in a lot of cases that's what's been left behind here on this side of the river. Funding. So we have about $50,000 a year that's collected in ad valorem taxes from an ad valorem tax on the West Bank for health and mental health. We think that this fits squarely in the middle of health and mental health, and so we think that the $50,000 a year, that's what it costs, that's what it's going to cost to acquire these buildings, that $500,000 a year could easily cover that and certainly be a part of it. But additionally, we're going to look at private partnerships. So we've already talked to healthcare providers. We've already talked to some of the industry and manufacturing partners, and I think there's a real possibility here that we can get a lot of partnerships if we, combine this of restoring the old buildings and providing these opportunities. John, you have something?
No, go ahead.
Our goal, obviously, that was our vision. Our goal is to provide that future infrastructure to train the young adults in nutritional and wellness programs, to provide job training for the non-technical vocations, and that's what I talked about earlier. So really, it's two things, at least two things, probably more. But you have, here's a place to train young adults of what's proper nutrition, but also a place that they could be an entrepreneur in healthy foods. So here's a place that they can cook those foods, and people can go to these buildings and enjoy that. So how do we accomplish the goals? Mr. Kevin Kelly is in the audience tonight. I think a lot of you recognize who that is. I'll tell a real short story. Not a bad story, Kevin. That, when somebody told me, they said the Lehman building, which is a big department store building, 60,000 square foot building that's on the corner of Mississippi, right across from this Tractor Supply place, that building was going to be restored. And I said to myself, well, I've heard that before, and we'll see what happens. And so I said, well, who's going to do the restoration? And they said, Kevin Kelly. I said, you mean Kevin Kelly of Homer's House, the place that a leaf is not out of place in the whole? They said, yeah. So, and that's really the reception you get in the city of Dawsonville when you go around and you talk about this restoration being done. This, all the references are, we knew that it was going to be done properly. The arrangement that we have, that we're proposing tonight, is that Mr. Kelly, he's agreed to buy the buildings. So he'll buy all 3 of these buildings. It's about $1 million investment for him. We will lease those buildings from him for 20 years. And all he wants is just interest on his money. So we've got a formula to calculate that, but it amounts to about $50,000 a year payment for 20 years. The tractor place that's currently in this building is moving. They have to move to a place that's more rural because their manufacturers want them, is requiring them to do that. So we're going to sublease the building back to the tractor people who are already using it, and for 2 years until they can move their equipment and build their new location. During that 2-year period, then this lease is a net zero. So what it cost us to pay the lease for Mr. Kelly, we get in return from the Lemon Farm Supply building. 2 years, it gives us 2 years to find those opportunities of where are we gonna have a public-private partnership? Are we gonna be able to get a grant? What exactly are we gonna do? But we're gonna have 2 years to do that, really with no cost. John, you still?
Yep.
He was supposed to help me on this. As we talked about, the second part of this is when we start restoring the building. And this is really the beautiful part about the relationship that we have with Mr. Kelly, which is that, as we all know, he does a tremendous job of the renovations and restoration. As the owner, he will restore and renovate the buildings to our specifications. He will give us 90% of the historic tax credits, which the historic tax credits, if you combine the state and the federal, amount to about 45% of the capital that will be invested. So the parish of Ascension will benefit to the tune of about 37% discount on all the restoration work that goes on there. Clearly, Mr. Kelly is doing that just because, as he told me, I love the architecture, I love the old buildings, and I don't want to see them be destroyed. Then at the end of that, then here we are. We got to our vision, and we're there. Entrepreneurs are operating those organic food stores, and we have people being trained in music and arts. And, my vision includes, I don't know if you guys know him, Alvin Batiste, sitting there teaching other young artists, how he works. John, you still out?
I'm still good. You filibustering good enough.
And so here's a clear definition of what these 3 buildings are. So here's an aerial view. And so inside that squiggly yellow line is the tractor building, 15,000 square feet. That building alone is 15,000 square feet, and 7,500 square feet of that building is currently being used. So it's operating, fully air conditioned, and all of that. The property line doesn't quite go all the way back to the Mississippi River, but it has 370 feet of frontage on the Mississippi River. The total parcel here is almost 3 acres. So, what we're talking about is, we're talking about a lease that we're going to lease for $50,000 a year, and we get these buildings, which total about 21,000 square feet. And I left out most of the buildings in the back that are not completely enclosed. This 21,000 square feet is just the building space that's closed. almost 3 acres, 370 feet of frontage on the Mississippi River. There's a street view of all the buildings, so all the way to your left, and you could recognize the Case tractor, but that's of course the tractor building that's currently being operated, and that's the building that will stay, that'll be subject to a sublease so that they can continue to sell their tractors there until they can build another location. The building in the middle is a theater building, so if you can, just imagine yourself inside of that, and it's the early 1800s, and I guess you're having a glass of champagne, or I'm not sure what, and so, most of the tenets of that, or the structural part of that, is still intact. The building to the right is the Oswald Drugstore building. It was actually approved to be demolitioned. John and I went through there, and it's not really that bad a building, but there are some other possibilities. If we go back to that map, think about the map, this building has property that goes all the way to the Mississippi River. So, forgot the number exactly. I want to say it's about 700 feet deep. This, if you were to tear this building down, then you would have parking, you would have a park there on the levee, because the property goes all the way to the back. Again, and I did, we're not buying the building, so really we don't have to get an appraisal, but I think this is a fairly simple appraisal. 21,000 square feet, I put $50 a square foot in there. Mr. Kelly will tell you that, a restored building value is $300 to $350. I know this, for $50 you can't build a shed, $50 a square foot. 370 feet of frontage, that's not putting any value on 370 feet of frontage on the Mississippi River, and and the 3 acres of land at $40,000 an acre. So I know that these numbers are very conservative. So even at that, then you're looking at a value that's above $1 million. Why the public-private partnership? And that's pretty obvious. So you see the building to the right, that's the before picture. The building on the left, I took that picture Saturday. It's going to be a beautiful asset to the city of Dawsonville. And it's 20,000 square feet per floor. Mr. Kelly is here in case anybody has any questions or comments about him. But I think it's obvious why we do the public-private partnership here. Additionally, he's agreed to this 37% discount to give us 90% of the historic tax credits on the restoration. Path forward, we talked about this earlier, is that I think it's either directly to the council or a special meeting before, and for consideration. Between now and then, we're going to present this to the Donisonville Council. I already have an appointment with them on March the 14th. We're going to present that to the council. We're going to present it to the Chambers of Commerce, and there's many communities on the West Bank, and we could do the East Bank if possible. But all of this needs to be completed by April 15th, because the purchase agreement that Mr. Kelly has will expire on April 15th. Here we are, we're back at the Vega building. And, I'm open for any questions or comments. And John, you got some?
I just want to close on that filibuster. The bottom line is I'd be willing to bet anybody on this council a milkshake that some really great things are about to happen on the West Bank from an industrial standpoint. And as I've told Coach and the mayor, and I think in some of the early childhood education meetings that we've had with Ms. Terry, is, if these billion-dollar facilities locate on the West Bank, but everybody who gets a job in one of them moves to Prairieville, then we didn't really improve the quality of life in the city of Donisonville. And so this is a quality of life. Our whole goal is, so when this industrial corridor develops on the West Bank, is to give people a reason to stay and develop and grow in the city of Donisonville. So, at the end of the day, it's about quality of life. And once again, if we let these buildings go now, we'll never get them back. And so.
That completes our presentation, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Councilman Lawler.
I won't bet you a milkshake, but I'll bet you some bread pudding. Done. But either way, we have to win on that, so that's all that matters to me. A couple of things in this. If there are two people in this parish that personify giving and being part of Ascension Parish, it's Kevin Kelly, obviously, and Mary Lee Dixon. I mean, those two names are synonymous with giving to Ascension Parish. That's why I don't want to let this opportunity pass, because this is absolutely amazing. I mean, this is a great thing for Donnisonville. The questions I have is, does this have to come back to finance?
Does it have, I'm sorry.
Will this have to come back to finance?
No.
Okay.
If, it's up to you guys. Obviously, if you want to bring it back to finance through a special committee, at one time the chairman and I talked about this and calling a special meeting before the April 7th regular meeting, but it would mean you'd be voting on it, and then 30 minutes later you'd be voting on it again in the council meeting. But that's up to you guys.
I don't like special meetings. It just takes up too much of our precious time. That's part of the reason I did the numbers on this. I mean, if we even if we move in the right order, I should say, if this goes to the next council meeting or the one after that, we're not leaving ourselves much leeway. This item has approval on it. I would love to be able to approve this lease tonight. Legally, I believe because it says approval, we would have the right to do that. Is that correct? Yeah, the sublease. If you looked at the, God, my English is bad, but the conjunctive and, I think allows that. I just hate to let an opportunity like this go by, that we have Mr. Kelly's here, we've heard how wonderful it is. Why would we not take this as an opportunity to approve this and move forward with it?
Anyway.
If we have the opportunity.
We certainly would welcome a vote, but obviously you still have to, it would be a vote to send it to the council.
Yes, and I mean, most things have to go through a committee, and I don't want to take any chance that somewhere down the line somebody says, oh, this didn't go to committee, we got to send it back. No, I mean, I'd like to see this get done. And if you look at the lease, it starts on the 15th.
Yeah.
That doesn't leave us but 2 council meetings before this, and if
Well,
something goes
you
wrong.
also have the purchase, the most important is the purchase agreement expires on April 15th.
Exactly, and this lease would go into effect at that same time. That's why we have to get this done, and I think that they would want this approved before then. So legally, I think, do we have that right? Because it says and approval?
Yes. The approvals of the sublease, the approval is not of the cooperative endeavor agreement technically, but the sublease is part of the whole thing. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but
I mean, I'd like to renew my motion for approval of the sublease and to move it to the full council.
Second.
Next, I got Councilman Robert.
Yeah, overall, I think it's a great idea, and it sounds like a great project. I only have a couple questions about it. The cost of the leasing of the buildings and what we're getting for the building, square footage-wise, and property, without a doubt, I believe the $50,000 a year is well worth it. My only concern comes up when we get to the restoration of it, and I guess I'm just asking for a little clarification on it.
Well, that's a good question, Councilman. Actually, we're going to probably have to take this CEA and either do a modification or amendment to it at that time before we start the restoration. You know, we've outlined the tenets of this is what will happen in a restoration, but obviously we don't have any cost in there, these other things. So really, I think what it is we have the structure of what it'll look like, the restoration, but we're going to have to amend this or either amend it or attach something to it before we do the restoration.
And I guess that brings up my next question is, the 20-year term is a great term because, I mean, obviously we're making improvements to the building. I'd like to see something to have a second 20-year term or something to where we would have a renewal without having to worry about getting out of the lease or being pushed out of the lease.
I don't remember exactly, but I think there is an ability to renew. Do you remember, Kevin? No? No?
There's no problem with it. I thought at that point in time, the tax credits are finished, you got
Yeah.
your money, and then y'all can simply take title to it.
Now, the other thing that this
So you're
has...
saying at that point, you'd be willing to do the title with it?
Yeah.
Whatever's owed on the property, they can take, the city, the parish can take title. for whatever the outstanding amount of money
Mr.
is.
Mr.
Okay.
Kelly,
Times they can take title to the property.
Mr. Kelly, can you come up to the mic, please?
So just one comment, we do have escape clauses in there, so the parish can get out at any time. Mr. Kelly can also get out at any time, and there are provisions for, who pays the building. So whoever initiates, if somebody wants to get out, they pay a 3% premium. And like if we wanted to get out, we could pay a 3% premium, and we would buy the building. If Mr. Kelly wants to get out, then he pays a 3%.
So we will always have that option
We
as
will
well?
always, and we have a first option to buy always.
Okay.
And that's at this capital cost.
Okay. With that said, I'm definitely good with pushing this to the council. Obviously, all of these numbers and all of these prices for the renovations will have to come to us at that point. I just wanted to make sure we're not exhausting that $500,000 budget. Obviously, it'll cover the $50,000 a year for the rental, but, with the rest of that budget, I obviously don't want to take all of that for this one project.
Well, I can assure you that, we'll have to come back to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we do any other restoration work, and then we have a provision where anything that Mr. Kelly does to the building, we have to approve.
Yeah. Well, I do appreciate you coming out here, Kevin, and, I really appreciate what you're doing in Donnisonville. I think it could be a great success.
Okay, thank you. Next, I have Councilman Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to thank Leadership Ascension again, and Mr. Kelly in itself, in participating and spending the time in Donnisonville. As of today, I could say I am a native of Donnisonville. I've been in Donnisonville all my life. And this is the first that I'm hearing this a couple of days ago about the branding of the buildings on Mississippi Street. Our line of communication with the administration has been very poor, to say the least. But again, I would hate to be the one to spoil anything, which I won't spoil anything. I'm very grateful and thankful that the things that's going on in Donnisonville. And as I said here today, the only thing come to mind today is, at this time, is there must be something coming up, moving forward to the next year. And the only thing that I noticed that's coming up next year is an election year. So here we are allowing ourselves with this administration, starting with Mr. President, that I'm talking about, wanting to come to Donnisonville to do anything. We've been in Donnisonville all my life, and there's things that we've been needing in Donnisonville and always needed. And it's a situation that we've been working with. He hadn't took care of the problem that we have. And I'm talking about the water, but I won't get on that. But again, these buildings that you're talking about getting, I had no inkling as a representative representing Donnisonville that you was wanting to buy them, up until a couple of days ago by Mr. Bill Dawson advised me that he was wanting to sell it. So with that said, I appreciate the offer, and I appreciate the camaraderie that we're going to have moving forward in Donnisonville. As a member and as a native of Donnisonville, I wouldn't ever do anything. I'm here fighting for the people of Ascension Parish, along with fighting for the people of West Ascension at any cost. And you can say what you want, grandstanding or no grandstanding. It is what it is. It looked like a duck, quacked like a duck, it got to be a duck. So with no more said, I have nothing else to say. And I want to again thank you, Mr. Kelly, and thank anyone that's been going Leadership Ascension. We applaud you. Thank you all for the help on the West Bank.
Maybe it's simply appropriate for me to say how this project happened, because I'm not a part of any grandstanding or anything. But for 6 years now, the Lehman family has been trying to get me to buy the B. Lehman building, the one that I'm doing now, as well as the Tractor Supply building. And we couldn't come to terms. Finally, the building is up for demolition by neglect and they dropped the price from a ridiculous selling price to a realistic price. When they put a realistic price, it made it a doable project to do the B. Lemon building. I got it under contract, did the financing to make it work, and that's why the building will be finished in about May, and people will be able to start moving in. I got the Tractor Supply building under contract a year ago. And for a year now, I've been trying to work that project to get something done with it. Because of the pandemic, the federal government's HUD financing is basically closed. So I plan to do an exact same development with the Tractor Supply building that I had with the B. Lemon building. And it's going to be a wonderful project. But because government was shut down, we couldn't do anything. Nobody was doing anything behind anybody's back. It's just a good project. I think this arrangement that we have with the parish is going to secure a building that was going to become vacant, because if you've noticed, there's windows that have been blown out of the building from before Ida, still haven't been repaired. Parts of the facade have fallen down. The building's going to be cared for. That's the dominant property. Those two properties are the dominant properties in Donnisonville. It's at the foot of the river, at the corner. If that property turned vacant, I don't think you would ever find a rebirth of Donisonville. So the hope is to put a placeholder here that when the Tractor Supply moves out in 2 years, because it takes 2 years for them to build their building, at that point in time, hopefully we're going to find wonderful things that the community comes together with. A developer usually doesn't like to go public very much because no one trusts the developer. And it's very frustrating when you do a project and people start picking on you. When I had the Donisonville project ready, I had people telling me that the color of the building I was going to do wasn't appropriate. I'm doing the original color from 1885, but there were people complaining about that. I had people complaining about everything. If I had followed the complaints on the rumors of people that were using false information, I would have walked away. So sometimes a developer just can't be totally public out there. So no one was hiding any information from anyone. And I just think this is the best use. If anybody thinks it's not, I can walk away. I don't have to buy the property. But no one's playing games with this project. This is just to help save Donisonville. There's a lot of things that have to happen. But the biggest problem with Donisonville for the past 35 years, and I'm aware of, is no one would sell their property at a reasonable price. So the prices were so ridiculous, no one would sell the property. They wanted to lease the property. They wanted to keep 100% ownership of the property, and the developer was going to have to put a ton of money into it. That doesn't work. That might work on Fifth Avenue in New York. It does not work on Railroad Avenue in Donisonville. So I just think this is good for the city, and there was nothing improper done. So I don't want you to think that. I think it's a beautiful town. I think there can be things done, and hopefully with the B. Lemon building happening, it's going to make other people fix them up. And other buildings are fixing up now. I think there's hope, but there's no conspiracies here. Not with me.
And to Mr. May I finish?
You go ahead and follow up, yeah.
Number one, I wasn't pointing the finger at the developers, Mr. Kelly. We greatly appreciate you being in Donisonville. My concern was the communication and transparency of this parish in itself. There's none. For myself, I didn't know about any of this. I welcome you to come in and do what you're doing. We appreciate it very much. That was my only comment. I didn't know, coming from the administration standpoint, Mr. Beal told me about this stuff that's going on a couple of days ago. And he mentioned just now, it's been 7 months. They've been looking into doing this. And as a representative, as a councilman, elected councilman of Donisonville, representing West Ascension, I would have minded to know that this was going on, and I'm more than more approval of what's going on and the things that are about to happen on the West Bank. But just being, I was not commenting on anything going under the table, anything like that. My only concern was it was been going on for 7 months, and nobody tend to represent, allow myself as a representative of the West Bank to know what was going on. And this is the problem we've been having from day one for the last 2 years, communication and transparency of this parish. So I greatly appreciate you, and will always or never, at no cost, say anything to stop progress in Dawsonville so badly needed on the west bank of the river. We thank you and we appreciate you, the leadership of Ascension. We greatly appreciate everything that y'all have done and that y'all going to do for us. And that's coming. I'm fighting for the Ascension Parish, I'm fighting for the West Bank, and I will continue to fight. I didn't come back here to sit down and just listen. I come back here to do the things that some of us want us to do. So with that said, I thank you, I appreciate you, and the community in itself appreciate what you're doing for us. Thank you.
Councilwoman Casso.
It's okay, I answered either one. Mr. Kelly, thank you so much. You are a gentleman and certainly a philanthropist extraordinaire, and we appreciate you. This is an opportunity for Donisonville that I'm rather in awe of what could happen there. And I do want to make Mr. Kelly aware that all of us are aware, and the coach certainly needs to be, that as a private citizen and a philanthropist, he's not under any obligation to speak to any of us about his plans to purchase property in Donisonville. And I do believe that the administration is coming to this council tonight with a well-thought-out plan to present to the Finance Committee, and that's the appropriate forum in which to do this. So I think we need to all just kind of cool our heels and thank the people who are working on this for having putting forth the effort. It certainly, I'm sure, must feel quite thankless tonight. So from my perspective, thank you very much for all that you've done to make this possible, to come here and present this to us tonight. I hope they build some condominiums up on top of one of those buildings so I can buy one and retire in Donisonville and look at that beautiful river. I think that there's an opportunity in Donisonville that many of us would love to take advantage of, especially folks like myself who are eagerly looking forward to our retirement. And I want to be able to walk to get my bread pudding so that I can walk back and get the calories off. But this is an amazing opportunity. Thank you all for the effort. I just want my fellow councilmen to know, and I certainly want to appreciate Mr. Lawler for trying to push this forward tonight. I think we need to make it move as fast as we possibly can, and that's it for me. Kevin, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess, and look, this is all good news coming from both sides, but I wish the city of Donisonville, some of their councilmen or some of their, I know we got Coach and Joel here, but something this big, if we support this tonight, the council, what is the feel of the council in Donisonville?
Well, let me, is it okay if I answer that, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead.
We do plan on bringing this to the Donisonville Council. I spoke to the mayor for a pretty good while. They're very supportive. I've spoken to council members prior to that. I could have had them here tonight, to be honest with you, but we had a discussion only, and I saved them. I said, you guys wait till April 7th and come. But there's 100% support.
Appreciate that. And I guess the other thing, the river access. Is that considered the deep water? Would they, tell me a little bit about the river. How, is that accessible with what we getting here, or?
So somebody besides myself might have that history, but there was a dock there. I don't know if it was a deep water dock. I know there was a dock there. There's also that ship, Kevin, I forgot the name of it. Yeah, the Pelican is sunk where the dock was, so there has to be some pulling up of that. Obviously that's a big part of what we've talked about is, and I know that's where you're going, which is, can you get river boats to come there and
Well,
You know.
let's face it, Bill. Right now, when they're looking for rail and they're looking for deep water access, you have to, if we can work this, and Mr. Kelly, I'm sure he knows that every inch of that river, but, this is some of the things I'm looking for, deep water access, a few other things. I mean, this is a no-brainer.
I think it's a real asset. I mean, whether you choose to do the restoration, I would literally cry if we didn't do the restoration, but, even if you don't, then I think the property has a lot of value.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Lawler.
Yeah, I've noticed I haven't seen John Diaz much in Prairieville. No projects over there. You've been doing the early development stuff over there on Dawsonville. You've been doing a lot. I can only surmise that it's directly bread pudding related. Is that correct? Because you were in Dawsonville all the time. So I'm going to have to work out something to have bread pudding delivered to Prairieville to make sure that John Diaz comes over and starts doing stuff over there. Good job, John.
Thank you.
All right, I have a quick question, and just for doing due diligence, I'm looking at Mr. Goldsmith. If the language does say we can approve it, I mean, somebody legal tell me different, but I do notice that we have to provide the insurance. So just accounting wise, is it in the budget? Do we have the money to handle all the fees to do everything we need to do?
So I think in the short term, there's not going to be many expenditures because of that agreement they've gotten back and forth. I think any increase in the insurance, we're eventually going to have to come with an amendment for that anyway, since that was passed at the last council meeting. So anything with that could be handled in that respect. So I think that the short answer would be, I think no, that we shouldn't need to do anything else other than what we're normally would be doing anyway to handle some of these things.
Okay. Second question, and I just want clarification on it. At first I heard Mr. Kelly was doing some of the restoration, then later I heard we're getting the discount, the historic tax discount to do the restoration. So we would do the restoration.
No, we would not do the restoration. So the historic tax credits are not available to a public entity. So this is one of the reasons that we have Mr. Kelly as the owner. He does the restoration as the owner. He gets the tax credit, and then he gives us through the CEA that we have. He gives us credit for 90% of them, and so that's what affects the price we would buy the buildings at the end of the contract. And that's also the price that affects the lease is calculated on that outstanding capital price.
Okay, perfect. I just heard a couple different things.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
I understood the right way. Okay, I don't know who I'm asking. I mean, can we vote on it? I saw the wording different, but.
I think you can pass it on regardless. It just matters whether it goes on the consent agenda or not. So yes, you can vote on it and pass it along.
Okay. Chair, I'm sorry. I got a question from Councilman Cagnolati.
There again, I'm bringing it up again, but I'm just going to ask administration to check and see if this might be one of the projects could qualify under for the ARP money.
Okay, we can
It's sitting there, and if we can use it for this, no better opportunity.
Sure, we can definitely look into that.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Robert.
Yeah, Dow brought up a point that I wanted to ask on again. The historic tax credits and the restoration credits and everything. You're saying that Kevin's going to pay for the restoration of the buildings, or he's going to do the restoration. So the parish is not putting up any money. We're not paying Kevin back for restoring or anything like this?
So the way the contract reads is Mr. Kelly would do the restoration. He would do those with his own funds.
Okay.
Then that would increase the total capital value of it. So the lease calculation would be affected by that, and the buyout calculation would be affected by that. So if Mr. Kelly, let's just say he does $1 million worth of restoration, and let's say that he gets $450,000 in tax credits, and I know that I'm probably overestimating that, but it's 45% of about what he spent. And then he gives us a credit of 90% on that. So whatever that number is about 38 or so, $380,000. So instead of the capital asset value going up $1 million, it would only go up about a little over 500, between 500 and 600,000, giving us that $300,000 credit for the taxes.
Okay, so how can we get a tax credit when we're not spending the money on it?
So we don't get the tax credit. Mr. Kelly gets the tax credits. However, he passes them along to us through the CEA, and then that gets added to the value of the building.
Okay, so I got what you're saying. You're just putting the value back into the equity of the building. Yeah. All right. No, I was just trying to clarify that because I was thinking the same thing you were. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, so I have a motion from Councilman Lawler and a second from Councilman Melanson. I think the only part of this that has approval in front of it is the sublease. So my assumption is when we put this in front of the council, we would actually have to do the CEA separately.
So I guess, can I get a clarification on that? So the,
I'm just asking whoever.
the sublease would be on the consent agenda, and the CEA and master lease, if you will, with Mr. Kelly would be a separate agenda item.
Okay. So that'll be something we have to put on the council agenda with John. Okay. All right. I don't see any more questions. Any objections? Well, the sublease passes to the consent agenda for the full council. Thank you, Mr. Kelly, for being here and answering the questions. Appreciate it. All right. Item 5F, renewal of agreement with Louisiana Lobbying Solutions, professional government relations consulting and serving as an advocate of the parish's priorities by providing technical and strategic plans, support and assistance to the parish president and parish council. Motion by Councilman Melissa. And John, do you want to speak on this one?
Yeah, this is just a renewal of an existing contract that we have with Louisiana Lobbyist Solutions.
Councilman Cagliani.
Yeah, I got some serious issues with this. Last year we approved a contract for 1 year with 2 one-year options. It's a renewal, but we have to approve it to go forward. Very familiar with lobbying, and John, you want to get into the money, or you want me to cover that?
It's up to you.
Okay. I've questioned a lot of lobbyists throughout the state, and this contract is $11,000 a month. Total annual contract for $132,000 plus $36,000 in expenses for total cost to the taxpayers of Ascension Parish of $168,000 a year. That's the max he could benefit from this contract. The previous contract we had with Chris Gidry and Associates, the not to exceed was $84,000, and he never got there. Except he took, well, no, I'm sorry, he did. He got $7,000 a month, but he gave us reports, he sent invoices, and I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I haven't seen the first report or anything that Louisiana, that this company and this gentleman has presented to us. So, with that in mind, I'd like to offer a substitute motion, unless someone else wants to comment, Terry or somebody else, but I'd like to be recognized again to offer a substitute motion.
Well, with lack of a second and no other questions, I think you can make that substitute motion now.
I'd like to make a motion that the administration go out for an RFQ for professional lobbying services, and the contract be worded such that it have a not-to-exceed amount, and that it won't be a monthly installment, that they will get they do work, they submit a report with an invoice, and that's how they get paid. And it just, a not to exceed amount that's reasonable, which can be determined later.
All right, so I have I incorrectly stated a substitute motion with your motion failing. That was actually a motion. I have a second by Councilman Lawler, and I have a question from Councilman Lawler.
Oh, I don't think so, but I just motioned to second. I hit it to second.
Okay.
I was trying.
Motion for further discussion. And I don't have a problem with that, but, I mean, let's face it, we've had lobbyists in this parish for as long as I can remember. I just need more information on what we got going, or what projects are these people working on. That's what I'm looking for.
So somebody might have to help me out. Parliamentary procedure, if the second didn't happen and then they did a motion, then that motion is no longer valid. We're still on this motion. Correct? Okay.
Yes.
So with that being said, I mean, I think do we have any objections to, oh, I'm sorry, Clint.
John.
I apologize.
So
Clint or
now,
John, go ahead.
Could we, if the council wants to go out for another RFQ, that's fine, we could go back through that process. And I don't have the previous contract, but what I understand, it was $7,000 a month with a $7,000 expense, so it could total $14,000. But could we just extend this through this session? We have about $70 million worth of projects that are going through DOTD. We're right in the middle of the session, they're filing bills, so can we extend this into the end of this session? And then once again, it gives us an opportunity to go out for the RFQ. I just don't want to disrupt anything that we're working on as of now.
So is that, Mr. Chair?
Hold on, I got John and Aaron in front of you. Well, go ahead, Debs.
So this is with DOTD, and what other projects are we looking at?
So we have DOTD, House Bill 1, House Bill 2, both of the finance bills. They've been instrumental with getting us a meeting with DEQ secretary when it comes to sewer. They were very instrumental in getting us a meeting with Chip Klein in the governor's office on the gapping, 22 gapping project. Recently, we had a problem with the extension from Highway 73 to Bluff Road, an environmental issue. We're sitting in the meeting. The engineer said that we'd never get a meeting before Christmas. We got a meeting before Christmas. So at the end of the day, when we need to open doors, and this is not about, trying to get to Tony and Ed. This is about getting meetings with the administration and top-level folks. Sean Wilson, we met in person with the Revenue Secretary just the other day. When we meet with DEQ, it's with Dr. Brown. When we meet with, when we meet with the Water Initiative, it's with Chip Klein. So it's anything that we're funding that we need to open up a door and get into a meeting.
So what is the session left? 2 months? How many months are we talking?
June 6th. June 6th would be the end of the session.
You good, Debs?
Let me, I'll go ahead and do a substitute motion to go ahead and extend this contract for the 4 months to at least get out of this, because these are some serious projects that we've been working on. Let's do the session, if that's, and because we have everyone to the table here, and then we'll go out for the RFQs, if y'all don't mind.
Okay, so I have a substitute motion from Dempsey to go to the end of the session with a second from Joel. I have some other discussion, and we'll see if we'll move forward on that one. Councilman Lawler.
I certainly don't want to harm any of our activities going, but I've never heard anything on transportation wise. And I don't think anybody here on the council has gotten any reports of anything that's been going on. And that's a concern. We paid $132,000 and we haven't seen anything for it. I mean, I don't know if Mr. Bromel's here tonight. I don't believe so. I don't see him. We paid $132,000, haven't seen a thing for it. And that's really concerning. So, I mean, I guess we can extend this.
But that's.
But
something to add to that. Let's face this. There's survey markers all along Highway 74. There's projects that's going on. I mean, we might not know them, but there's things going on.
Well, that's. Yeah, well, maybe, but we're not hearing about it. There has to be communication.
You need to do a memo or something to get the things up to par here. But
Yes, I mean, I have no problem with extending this through the session, but I would expect through the session that we find out, like, within the next couple of weeks, exactly what's being worked on, exactly what has been worked on.
And we don't have a problem with that.
No, I understand that, but then
Let us
we
know
do
what
go out for a bid, because I can tell you this amount, and I agree with John, I've talked to a lot of other lobbyists, this is a lot more than other areas that are much larger than us pay, a lot more. And for it to be that much more, and for us not to see anything, I don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth on this.
Okay.
You don't know if you're not getting your money back. If y'all want to see reports, we can give y'all stuff we're doing, but don't sit here and assume that you're not getting your money's worth. Just ask for reports, and we'll be glad to get them to you.
Well, John, we shouldn't have to ask for reports. We should be given that sort of thing. We should know where we are. As I said, I've been, working in transportation for several years now, and I haven't heard a thing about this. And I've been able to talk to people in DOTD that I need to talk to without this. So I'm just saying, let's do this for 4 months, but Dempsey, was your motion that it go out for an RFQ after that?
Yeah.
Q or P or whatever.
Yes,
Okay.
A and P. So that's fine.
All right.
But just a quick question. So if it's not worth having a lobbyist, why go out and do the RFQ?
I didn't say that it was not worth having a lobbyist, John. That was never
You
said.
said you can get to DEQ or
DOTD.
DOTD without a lobbyist. And so I guess my question is, if it's cost, then we ought to not do an RFQ. We ought to do an RFP and go to the lowest bidder, which is something I'm not interested in.
No, I don't, John, you're mistaking what I said. I haven't had a problem getting in touch with DOTD when I've needed to, but I don't know if everybody else up here has the same ability to do that. And, and I don't know what other departments we need to get in touch with that we're not able to get in touch with, and we're not seeing anything for this. I mean, I don't think we have any other contract where we have never even seen the person doing it, and we paid them $132,000. We haven't received a piece of paper, haven't received anything. I mean, that's kind of crazy if you ask me. So my point is, no, I believe me, I see a huge value in lobbying. But I see a value in lobbying that keeps us up to date, that knows what we're working on, that communicates back and forth with us. So that's why I think it should go out for an RFQ. We find the best person. It may be the same person, but I can tell you, at this cost, I don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth.
And Mr. Chairman, if there's something I can add, I've obviously been around a lot of lobbyists at the Capitol. I've dealt with Ty. I know he's at the Capitol. I know he's working for all of his, his clients. And maybe we can do better with reporting. I think that's something I see too. But I want the council to know, at least from my experience and what I've seen, he is out there working for the parish. I work with them on the session, dealing with bills, trying to make sure that, we've got the legal notices in, that we didn't miss our filing deadlines. There's session deadline intros. There's pre-filing deadlines. There are a lot of technical aspects that have to be done that somebody like him makes sure that we don't miss getting bills in, bills that the parish needs. I know through the year, he's also done a lot with IDA and making sure that, he makes the contacts so we got generators and things like that. So it's a lot of behind the scenes. Now, he was not here talking about those things, but I know personally from the outside coming in, there are a lot of things that he has done that I wish he could have gotten credit for. And from what I understand, this was done by an RFQ originally, and he was the only one who responded. And I know from my experience, it's hard sometimes to get lobbyists to come into different parishes, depending, somebody like Ty. And I'm not just saying that because I know him, but he is somebody that is obviously a top tier lobbyist at the Capitol that gives a lot of weight when we're trying to get capital outlay. We know we've got, the advantage of having the Speaker of the House from our parish. And so I know I've talked with him a lot. We've tried to get with the Speaker a lot to make sure that if there is an opportunity to get 30, 40 million of capital outlay, that we get that this year. So I would just hate to see any progress stopped, and I would hate that for people to think that there wasn't a lot done. We can definitely do better with reporting, but there is a lot of work being done.
All right, you okay, Aaron? I got a question from Councilwoman Casso.
Well, everything that has been said from the administration helps me to understand now where we are. I think what we have is a reporting problem, and so I look forward to that being corrected and would welcome the opportunity to vote yes on this RFQ at this extension through the legislative session, and then let's take a look at who might be interested and for what price after the session.
And maybe an alternative as well would be, as we work through the session, we work on that reporting, and maybe y'all get more comfortable and understand what he's doing. So I would at least like to ask for that opportunity, that let us fix the reporting, because I think you're right, it's a reporting problem. At least for me, coming from the outside looking in. Let us work on that and give us the opportunity between now and the end of session, before we just say we're definitely doing an RFQ. Let's see if we can maybe, get y'all the information you need to make you feel comfortable. And if not, obviously we can do an RFQ.
Well, and I guess my question is, can we get an example of the previous reporting that the previous lobbyist did, and we'll just duplicate that? It's pretty simple. So I don't know if y'all have a copy of what he submitted, or if we can get one, maybe Brandon.
I might could if you're asking me, I might could locate that.
That would be the easiest thing to do.
But I do know that he met with us and came here and presented to us. So I think that's the most important thing, is that we got to know him and understand what his role was. So it would be helpful if we were having that same privilege afforded to us by this lobbyist.
Absolutely. I think this is probably a great opportunity, and it's great timing, because we can ask Ty to come and give you a session update. The session's about to start, so kind of give an intro of what's about to happen, keep you updated as bills move through the process, and then we can get a session wrap at the end. So that, I think it's great timing, and I'm glad you said that, because that's something that we can ask him to do right away, since the session's about to start next week.
So I would ask the question on that, if you're offering that, I'm assuming we have to check with Ty. I mean, would we expect that in the next finance or maybe a council meeting coming up?
Yeah, we can check his availability and see what he's available for, and, it fits either one. If it's, luckily we have the same members on both, so if it works out finance, we can do it at that meeting.
Okay.
Or if you want him sooner, we can try to get him to come to the second council meeting.
I was just thinking timing with the session.
Yeah. Sure.
So if we're paying him, we don't want to stop him from doing what he's supposed to be doing, if it's better to come before the session on Thursday.
And I will tell you, from personal experience, once the session starts, we pretty much had no life. I would live there for 10 weeks in a row with no breaks, 7 days a week, so I understand it gets pretty hectic. But we can obviously talk and see if he can come and give us an intro to the session.
Okay. Councilman Cagalati.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any objections to extending it. I'm going to revert back to my original statement. Does Ascension Parish need a full-time lobbyist? During a session, probably yes. When there's nothing else going on, John, you can call anyone. I can call Shane Wilson anytime I want. He'll respond. He'll answer my calls. My point is, I don't like the way the contract is worded. It's a full-time agreement. He gets paid whether he does something or nothing. And he's not required, from what I can see. I haven't seen reports, and I don't think anyone up here has. I think that if you set it up, just like a professional services contract with a consultant, there's a rate schedule. And if he does work, whether he goes to the Capitol or makes a connection for us, sets up a meeting for us or what, then he says, okay, I did this on this date, here's my rate, here's your invoice, and give us a report. That's all I'm asking.
So
justification for the expense.
So the contract was worded almost verbatim as the previous contract, and you guys voted on it. So if you guys want to make some changes, just give us a call. We're not opposed to making changes to it, but there's literally no difference in this contract compared to the previous one, and y'all did approve this contract. So y'all could have brought those things up at the meeting, and we could have added an hourly.
We approved the contract, but I had no idea what the dollar amount was.
It's in the contract.
That was never
the
brought
dollar
to
amount's
us.
listed in the contract.
I'm just saying, historically, we can look at the past, but I think looking forward, we need to be a little bit more detailed, get more detailed information on how we go forward with this contract.
All right. Councilman Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My point earlier being made, as I listened at what's being said, it goes back to communication and transparency, and it starts at the head. So with that said, that's basically what needs to be done, quick and fast.
Okay.
So my point made, so that's all I have.
Thank you, Coach. All right, I got a substitute motion from Dempsey, seconded by Joel, to extend it through the session, and we discussed doing an RFQ or how we move forward after that.
That was part of the motion, that we do an RFQ also.
Yep. Nope, I was just restating. Any objections? With that, passes to the full council for approval. 5G, request for $75,000 for the third year of the third agreement with ESRI. Brandon O'Day.
Good evening, Finance Committee. This is a renewal for our GIS software that the parish uses. This is the third year of that contract, and it is a budgeted item, just asking for your approval.
Motion by Councilman Cagnolati, second by Councilwoman Casso. Any objections? That moves to the full council for approval.
Thank you.
5H, amendment number 3, Jana King, to include additional locations to the original contract scope as follows. I'm not going to read all that. I'm assuming everybody read it. You got a motion and a second. Any questions? Any objections? That passes to the full council for approval. 5I, change order number 2, ASA contractors for the OEP department relocation and renovation. New wall-mounted seat in the men's restroom. Labor for relocation. Any objections? That motion passes to the full council for approval. 5J, bid results and authority to enter into contract with Delcon LLC in the amount of 200. Second. Dean, you want to give us just for the public's benefit?
Yeah, this is just
a little description.
Yeah, where OEP was located, we're moving them, and HR, we're renovating that space for HR to move into.
Okay. Any questions? Who was the motion in the second? Again.
I made a motion, I think Chase was second.
Motion by Councilman Lawler, second by Councilman Melanson. Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes to the full council for approval. 5K, bid results and authority to enter into a contract with Delcon LLC in the amount of $72,330,000 for mechanical fabrication services. Marvin Bro Pump Station rebid.
Yeah, basically what this is a safety access platform to the fuel tanks. Right now, we're having to climb vertical ladders during storms to measure the levels.
Okay.
This is a safety platform.
Perfect.
And
What? Okay, I got a motion. I already had a motion from Dempsey with a second from Councilman Melanson. Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes to the full council for approval. 5L, bid results and authority to enter into a contract for West Bank Courthouse stabilization. Motion by Coach, second by Councilwoman Casso. Any objections?
I just have one question.
Oh, question.
So we only got one bid on this? That's kind of surprising.
yeah, well, we had two that came out, but Ramjack turned it down. They didn't feel that it was a project they were capable of doing.
That's
and
admirable
basically,
then.
we got an outfit out of New Orleans that's tackled these kind of historical projects before. And from the research they did in going under the building and stuff, I feel very comfortable that they're the right people for the job.
Sounds good.
Any objections? Any questions? With that, motion passes to the full council for approval.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, Dean. 5N, change order number TO-04-02, asphaltic concrete pavement preservation. with Material Resources.
You skipped over M.
Oh, did I? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm gonna go at 5M. Bid results and authority to enter into contract with Triumph Construction LLC in the amount of $502,000 for the Henry Road safety widening, LA 73 to Tillotson Road.
Motion.
Got a motion by Councilman Melanson, second by Councilwoman Casso. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes to the full council for approval. 5N. I already read it, so I don't know. Motion by Councilman Robert. Second by Councilman Thomas. Any questions?
One question.
All right, Dennis.
Mr. Two-Road, you had a list of these roads from Ida?
I don't have a list with me, but we do have, I can get you a list of the roads that we did this year and also the ones that we plan on doing on the next task order, which is going to be number 5.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, if we can get that, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay. Any objections? With hearing none, that motion passes to the full council for approval. 5O, Certificate of Substantial Completion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Melanson, second by Councilwoman Casso. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes to the council for approval. 5P, the contract report for the month. Again, this was sent out. Does anybody have any questions for finance on that? All right, we'll move on to the finance reports. The budget amendment number 2, approval to amend 2022 budget. Dawn, did you want to speak?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening. You have before you the ordinance for budget amendment number 2, which reads as follows. An ordinance to amend the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2022 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension, adopted by the Ascension Parish Council on the 18th day of November, 2021. Section 1. The Ascension Parish Council hereby ordains that the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2022 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension is hereby amended, approved, and appropriated as follows. Operating budget, general fund for the Waterway debris removal project, revenues and other financing sources, transfer in East Ascension Drainage Fund, $17 million. General administration, expenditures and other financing uses, miscellaneous materials, catastrophic event, $17 million. East Ascension Drainage Fund, Waterway debris removal project, expenditures and other financing uses, transfer out, general fund, $17 million. Maintenance fund, for the purchase of new furniture and additional upgrades for the Registrar of Voters Office, expenditures and other financing uses, acquisitions, furniture and fixtures, $40,000. Capital budget, road construction fund, transfer funds to Move Ascension Fund for additional projects, expenditures and other financing uses, transfer out to the Move Ascension Fund, $3 million. Move Ascension Fund, amend for the engineering contracts for additional projects. Revenues and other financing sources, transfers in Road Construction Fund, $3 million. Expenditures and other financing uses, engineering fees capital, $3 million.
Chair would entertain a motion. Motion by Councilman Lawler, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any questions? Any objections? Hearing none, that moves to the council for approval.
Motion adjourned.
Thank you.